Hello, let's talk about McCarthyism, the rise of McCarthyism. Now, McCarthyism is also known as Red Scare 2.0, okay, or the second Red Scare. The first Red Scare is going to happen after World War I. This is when the communist revolutions are going to start kind of ramping up over in Europe, particularly with the Soviet Union being formed. And there is a fear that this same thing is going to be happening in the United States. Now, this is going to kind of die off later on in the 1920s and early 30s. And then after World War II, the fear is kind of fascism. Before then, after World War II, there's going to be a second Red Scare in the United States. Now, this is post-World War II United States of America, and this is really a time of crisis. The world is coming out of a major conflict right here. There's going into another conflict, the start of the Cold War. You've got Europe, which is decimated in ruins right now. You've got Japan, which just had atomic weapons dropped on it. And the United States is really in a time of crisis. They've gone through a new president in 1944, or 1945, excuse me. And during a crisis, rights will decrease. And this is simply a fact of life. When you have crises going on around the world, your rights as an individual citizen do tend to decrease. Now, the United States is afraid of communists. They are terrified of communists because they believe that communists are abroad and that communists were at home. We're not just going to be focusing on the communists that are far apart and fighting them. We've also got to focus on the communists who are right here within the borders of the United States of America. People at this time period are really thinking that it's pretty stupid, in all honesty, to only worry about communism in foreign countries, because communism is definitely in these countries. You have to focus on them as well. So there's going to be a focus on both communism abroad and communism in the United States of America. Now, the public is afraid and they want Congress to act. One thing that in the United States is going to be happening a lot, especially when you understand the American political system, is Congress oftentimes responds to the will of the people. When there is enough pressure, Congress will act, because those people in Congress want to keep their constituents happy, or they risk losing their seats. So politicians and congressmen and women are really in a tough predicament right here, because they have to do something, or they're going to risk losing their seats. So what's going to happen is the public are going to begin to speak out. There's going to be a series of protests and a lot of pressure put on these politicians, and these politicians are going to begin to publicly speak of the fear of communism, and they're publicly going to announce the beginning of investigations to figure out where these communists are and what can be done about them. Okay, so we have that going on. Additionally, Truman is going to embrace the idea of capturing communists in the United States. So Truman is all on board with stopping communism in the United States. First and foremost, he's going to form these things called loyalty boards. Now, loyalty boards are a test of patriotism to determine if you are a real American. It's about to see, how patriotic are you? How much of an American are you? Are you really an American? Or are you an American who's sympathetic to the communist and therefore not a true American? This is going to be contrary to the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments of the United States Constitution. In there, you have the right to freedom of speech and freedom of expression. So in the United States, legally, per the Constitution, you have a right to believe what you want. You can believe that communism is the best form of government, and the United States government really has no legal way of going against you on that. They can disagree with you, but you have a legal right to do that. So this is going to be contrary to the Bill of Rights in the United States. But this is going to be what's happening at this time because of that fear. Remember, in a time of crisis, your rights will tend to go away. This is exactly what is going on at that time. Those who did stand up against this and say, this is wrong, this is a violation of our rights, this is a violation of the American Constitution, are often going to lose their jobs, even if they are not communists, because they are portrayed as being sympathetic to the communist or being a communist yourself. It's kind of like those things like, why are you so worried? If you aren't a communist, you've got nothing to worry about. One of those kind of things going on right through here. So there's a lot of pressure for anyone to not stand up, because if they do, there is a good chance they might lose their jobs, be blacklisted, anything like that. Additionally, this really doesn't stop communists from spreading in the United States, because if you want to destroy a country and you really are a communist infiltrator, you're going to lie. You're not going to be standing up and talking about how proud of communism you are. If you know they're trying to weed you out, you're going to stay in the system, making sure you can really destroy it from within. So in all reality, this does not actually do much when it comes to stopping the spread of communism in the United States. Okay, so then we get Joseph McCarthy. Okay, so Joseph McCarthy right here. First and foremost, we're going to get the House Committee on Un-American Activities, or HUAC as it is known in the acronym. Now, this is going to be heavily influenced by Joseph McCarthy, the senator from Wisconsin. And this is going to be done to show the people, to show the American public that Congress is going to protect them against communism. Remember, there is a lot of pressure going on in the United States for Congress to act. So this committee is going to be formed to show the public that Congress is acting. It's going to bring those who are accused of communism to Congress, and there they have to prove that they are not a communist. This is kind of the opposite of the system in the United States where you're innocent until proven guilty. This is more of the Napoleonic code of law where you are guilty until proven innocent. Now, it is much easier to prove that you are something than to prove you are not something. Okay, it's really easy to have enough possible deniability that you maybe are a communist. Okay, so it's going to be something that's very challenging for those who are brought before Congress to testify that they're not a communist and to prove they're not a communist. That's not exactly an easy thing to do because the other side can bring up simply one little thing that you can't officially prove 100% beyond a reasonable doubt. And therefore, in the eye of the public, you are a communist, even if you're not really a communist. Many famous people, a number of famous teachers, public figures are going to be brought forth and accused of being a communist. Some of the most famous ones are going to be the Hollywood 10, which is a number of 10 people from the movie industry in Hollywood are going to be brought forth, and they're going to be told that, or basically forced to prove that they are not a communist. Now, these individuals are going to take a stand on the moral ground saying that this is against the First Amendment, and they're not going to testify at all. They're going to simply say, I can believe what I want to believe. This whole idea of the House Committee on Un-American Activities is wrong. It is contrary to the beliefs of the United States of America, and we are not going to do this. Now, they're going to be found in contempt of Congress because they're not doing what Congress is asking them to do, and they're going to be blacklisted, which means they are not going to be getting hired. So this is going to be very detrimental to their careers. They're not going to have a chance to really expand their careers because they are taking a stand against this right here. Now, this whole thing is going to turn into McCarthyism in the 1950s. Now, McCarthyism, as I've already alluded to, is named after Senator Joseph McCarthy, who is a Republican from the state of Wisconsin. He is running for re-election, and he needs a attention getter of some sort. Okay, he needs some form of attention. He needs something to really get the public focused on him. So, what he's going to do is he's going to really bring this idea of communists infiltrating the American government. At this time period, when he's up for re-election, a number of high-level diplomats in the United States State Department have been arrested for spying for the Soviets. Now, this is the little spark that McCarthy is going to need, and he is going to capitalize on this heavily. He's going to begin to claim that he knew there are communists working in the government. He's going to carry around a briefcase. In this briefcase, he says he's got the names of everyone who's a communist, so he's got his prop, he's got his media right here, he's got his thing to capitalize, and he's just going to hit this hard. He's also going to state that he can't say who the names are because it's a matter of national security, but he's a senator, so you've got to know that he's trustworthy. And he's going to be seen as trustworthy because he's a senator. Why would a senator lie to the public? Now, he's going to continue to make these accusations in order to prop himself up. Now, these accusations are based on no real evidence at all. However, that doesn't really matter because the public wants to believe that there are communists in the government, wants to believe that communists are trying to destroy the United States. That's kind of the push right here. McCarthy is a senator, therefore he's clearly credible. You've got to trust him right here. He's going to accuse individuals like Lucille Ball from this TV show I Love Lucy, Albert Einstein, J. Robert Oppenheimer, who was the developer of the atomic bomb, and W.E.B. Du Bois, a African-American writer, of all being accused of being communist. Now, McCarthy is going to eventually self-destruct, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later on, but that's because he's going to basically start accusing everyone of being a communist. And this is going to have some backfiring. The Army McCarthy hearings in 1954 were televised, and he's going to accuse a number of officials in the United States Army of being communist sympathizers. Now, this does not work well at all. McCarthy looks very, very bad right here, and he's going to self-destruct. So we're going to get the famous quote by Joseph N. Welch, the chief counsel for the United States Army, their attorney at this time period, and he's going to flat out just look at McCarthy and say, "At long last, have you no sense of decency?" This is basically his way of saying, what the heck is wrong with you? You are crazy. You've got no proof. Go away. And that is really going to be the end of McCarthyism. If you have any questions, comments, put it below. Otherwise, good luck.